Meanwhile, today the Republican National Convention kicked off in Milwaukee. Yeah, it's 4 days of intense Republican speeches, like when your uncle comes to stay with you for Thanksgiving.
They try, they fail. But that's them trying. That's what happens when you've got generation, everyone gets a trophy, getting jobs in the real world, and this is what it leads to, among other things. Well, happy Tuesday to you and welcome. President Trump last night at the Republican National Convention, and a lot of discussion about his demeanor, his behavior, his physiognomy, his facial expression. I noticed it. My best girl noticed it. I have friends far and wide that noticed, hey, did you see a distinct change in behavior, a composure that President Trump demonstrated last night? Quite interesting, worth noting, worth watching and talking about, paying attention to. Some discussion that he may have had and almost, if not an actual, religious awakening in the aftermath of his near assassination, which was really something. And boy, it's a moment in American political history, and it's providing us with, not that we needed another demonstration of the news media's corruption, but it provides us with another just glaring textbook example of our news media's corruption. Just awful, terrible, horrible news media. Extraordinary stuff. And I was just talking in the last hour about the details of what happened in Pennsylvania on Saturday, and the police, the FBI going around and interviewing people. They have, according to news reports, they have interviewed the police officer that popped his head up over the roof line, and Crooks, the gunman, swung his rifle around, pointing it at the officer's head. The officer dropped down. The shooting in President Trump's direction started moments later with 8 shots fired in 2 seconds by Crooks in President Trump's direction. One of the bullets, of course, clipping President Trump's right ear. President Trump, within 1 second, dropping to the ground. Within 2 seconds, Secret Service agents on top of President Trump. And a 50-year-old man, firefighter, father, husband, was killed, I believe shot in the head and murdered by Crooks. 2 other people wounded, making it an official mass shooting. There was then 11 seconds of silence after the 8 shots were fired. President Trump was hit. 3 other people were hit. After the 11 seconds passed, Crooks popped his head up once again from the sloped roof where he had taken up position because of the angle of the roof and because of the fact that the roof had not been secured. And that is a hanging question that has not been answered and must be answered. There will allegedly be a hearing on Capitol Hill a week from yesterday, next Monday. Why wait a week? Nobody knows. But the director of the Secret Service did an interview last night, a television interview, and I will share some of that with you. There are still questions that need to be answered, and that is who had control of that building, of that rooftop. Why was he able to get up on that roof with a rifle within such proximity of the president and the stage that he was on? A lot of questions that still must be answered. And again, the FBI is investigating. I assume they're going to plant classified document cover sheets somewhere and photograph them and release them to the press or do whatever it is that the FBI does these days. But we've got a heck of a story on our hands here, and there are a lot of questions that must still be answered. Local, county, state law enforcement with positions around the outer perimeter, the inner perimeter controlled by the Secret Service. The gunman able to make his way up to the roof. There were people in the crowd who spotted the gunman, were yelling for the police, were yelling that he's up on the roof, people yelling he's got a rifle, and still he was able to get 8 shots off before being taken out by a Secret Service counter sniper. So what an event. What an incident. And then, of course, the extraordinarily iconic photographs of the president being escorted off stage with the American flag over his head, pumping his fist, yelling, "Fight." And in fact, when the president entered the arena in Milwaukee last night, the crowd was chanting, "Fight, fight, fight." And that really upset a number of people in the news media. Very upset, rankled by that. Why are they chanting, "Fight, fight, fight"? Our news media is the most corrupt institution in the United States of America, and that's just scratching the surface on that. Now, when the incident occurred, the crowd was amazing in that they did not scatter, they did not run, they did not stampede. Trump had been shot, winged along the right side of his head, his ear, his hand up on the right side of his head, blood coming down his face, blood on his hand, blood on his shirt, Secret Service piling on and escorting him away. Trump pulled back for a moment, pumped his fist in the air, yelled, "Fight, fight, fight." And he's pumping his fist in the air. And a couple of photographs taken by, I believe, the Associated Press news photographer and everybody there has got a camera, right? Everybody in the front row has cameras in their phones and stuff. But these photographers with their fancy cameras, and it's their job, so their shots fired, and they were moving forward to get pictures. The photographers did a great job. New York Times photographer too. I think the most iconic photo, I believe, was taken by the Associated Press photographer, and that's going to be an award-winning photo. And the Democrats are very angry that this iconic photo was produced because they hate so much. They're just so filled with hatred that they can't stand that an iconic photo emerged in the aftermath of this incident. And in fact, yesterday, Michael Piercy was explaining to me a lot of people on the left online were calling for the photographer to be killed, to kill the photographer. How does the left kill 100 million people? Well, we may find out one at a time. The Democrat Party is the left, and they're so angry, so bitter, recognizing that it's an iconic photo. And I explained yesterday that the Washington Post and the New York Times on Sunday had photos, variations on these photos on the front page above the fold of their newspapers, and they both cropped out the American flag because they knew that it was too iconic, and they didn't want this iconic photo of President Trump on the front page of their newspapers at the New York Times or the Washington Post. So they edited, they corrupted, they cropped, they deceived, they lied, because there are 10,000 ways to lie in the naked city, and they know all of them. Now let's go to, because there was a great moment, and I talked about this yesterday, but I didn't share the audio with you. I explained that there are a lot of people in the crowd that did not run, did not stampede, did not trample one another. One man had been shot in the head and killed. President Trump had been shot in the head and survived. Two other people shot and wounded. I think a man in his 50s and a man in his 70s shot and wounded. And the news media could care less. They're not outside the hospital with a clock ticking, waiting to find out, learning all about the families, because it's not George Floyd, who is a career criminal junkie filled with fentanyl and was it methamphetamine? I think it was methamphetamine and fentanyl and smoking dope and passing fake $20 bills and resisting arrest, because he's a hero of the Democrat Party. But these people shot and killed, shot and wounded at the Trump rally, the news media could care less about, because, they're not criminals, so they're not Democrats. That's kind of how that works. But I was explaining yesterday, a lot of people in the crowd turned around and they were, how shall I say, flipping off the press riser, which is, whatever number of feet away from the stage with crowd in front of them and crowd behind them. And there were people in the crowd who turned around and were shouting at the press riser, the people on the press riser, beep you, and this is your fault, pointing at them and saying, this is your fault. Some of the attendees at the Saturday rally turning around and addressing the news media on the press riser, the platform there.
You remember what you want. This is your fault.
This is your fault.
This is your fault. It is your fault. This is your fault.
It is your fault.
This is your fault. Your fault. You caused this.
And the press, they were very intimidated by it. They're like, oh, no, there's an angry mob out here, and Trump's just been shot, and there's blood, and another man has been shot and killed, and 2 other people shot and wounded. And, of course, the news media decided, oh, no, this is so scary for me. NBC reporter by the name of Isaac Arnsdorf. Nobody's ever heard of him, but he was allegedly there, so he says, but you can't really believe him. And he said, "Oh boy, we were really scared. It was scary for us."
There was real anger in that moment. Also, a lot of that anger ended up getting directed at the reporters. I think just we were the ones there when people turned around. But again, I'm grateful that things didn't take a worse turn that resulted in more loss of life that day.
Yes, it could have been worse. You were absolutely right.
Yeah, what about us? Oh, no, people yelled at us. Nobody shot you in the head like the firefighter. Nobody shot your ear off like the former president and future president of the United States. But the news media, we were scared. We were really scared. And like, and it can be scary. There are a lot of people and and it is your damn fault. So there's that. Pretty amazing stuff. Now, let's go to Huntington Beach, California, because there is a YouTuber by the name of James Klug, who takes his camera out on the street, and it sounds like he's a regular person, a normal person, James Klug. And he went out and he talked to Democrats out. The Pacific Ocean is behind him, and there's sand. It would appear to be a beach. And the big ocean, the world's largest ocean, the Pacific Ocean right there. And he was asking people about Trump being shot, and the Democrats responded like this.
Oh, it's a false flag.
False flag.
Yeah, false flag.
Somebody died and 2 people injured. What do you think about that?
False flag.
False flag.
I thought it was magnificently staged. It was professionally done. It almost looked real.
Wait. Staged by who?
Oh, by Mr. Trump, of course.
I think this whole thing is staged.
You think it was staged?
Yeah.
Was it staged? Probably.
Yeah, the Democrats, they shouldn't even be allowed to vote. They're all brain damaged, I think. They certainly shouldn't be allowed to own firearms. Maybe they should be deported. I'm not. It's pretty amazing stuff. We're dealing with the cacistocracy. The dumbest people among us are in charge. It's pretty amazing stuff. It's staged. It's a false flag. What about the people killed? Well, they don't mind. The James Klug video from the beach in Huntington Beach, California, naturally.
So you just thought it was fake?
Of course.
1 person died in the crowd, 2 critically injured. What happened there?
Small price. It wouldn't matter to Trump. Do you think he cares if people die for him to be elected? Death doesn't mean anything to Trump.
Now, staged from whose side? Do you think Donald Trump staged it for attention?
Could be, or it could be the other side trying to make a scene or something. But I don't. The fact that they only got his ear and he stood up and said America. I don't. Come on.
Right.
It doesn't feel normal.
Yeah, the fact that he stood up. I mean, he is. You got to say, even if you're a Trump hater, just forgive the coarse language. Total badass. Just unbelievable that the shots are fired. He's up there doing shtick. He's waving his hand. He leans forward. It saves his life, just barely. He gets his ear clipped by a sniper's bullet. A man is killed. President Trump said he's going to attend the funeral of the man that was murdered by the sniper at the event. And President Trump stands up, yells, "Fight, fight, fight." And the Democrats, just another reason for a mental breakdown. And there's more of the mental people on the beach as well. Yeah, he doesn't care about human life. Again, projection. That's them projecting their own lack of humanity onto everyone else. They don't care about human life. Send a check to Planned Parenthood, the Democrat Party on human life. I've got more of that coming up. And then the media and the Secret Service lady, too. The financial world is changing quite rapidly before our very eyes, and it is at least time to consider how we're going to adapt and how you are going to adapt to all these seismic changes. We just saw a shift happen in the global financial world when Saudi Arabia declared that it may exit the petrodollar system. Now, for 75 years, the petrodollar agreement helped maintain the United States, our dollar, as the world reserve currency, but that era may be coming to an end thanks to Saudi Arabia. This change could have far-reaching effects on our economy, the value of the dollar, and interest rates, too. You know, your daily expenses are right in the middle of all that. Gold, with its very long history, storied history as a safe harbor, may once again become the go-to option for investors looking for growth potential and stability. That's why I want to recommend calling Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold, they're the experts in precious metals, can help you and can help guide you through these uncertain times. All you have to do is give them a call at 844-368-9797. You're going to get a 100% free 2024 gold and silver guide. Plus, mention this ad and you may qualify for a $1,300 bonus because you hang with me. The financial landscape has already changed. It's changing before our eyes. Make sure that you're prepared. Write this number down now, 844-368-9797. That's 844-368-9797. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Yeah, conspiracy theorists. They're assassination deniers. They've got a whole new category of mental case. Assassination deniers.
It wouldn't matter to Trump. Do you think he cares if people die for him to be elected? That doesn't mean anything to Trump.
Also, the local police counter-sniper team was inside the building. Crooks was on the roof. The local counter-sniper team was inside the building. Told it had something to do with it being hot out. Crazy conspiracy people in Huntington Beach, California.
What is our evidence for suggesting that it was a staged, a fake assassination attempt?
I think that he walked away alive with perhaps a scratch on his ear.
Yeah, grazed his ear.
Yeah. Of course, behind the scenes, that was all fabricated. Some noise, they put a little scratch on his ear, threw a little blood on his face.
Now, so you think that they planned from 130 yards away to shoot off the corner of his ear?
And they never shot off the corner of his ear. That was all done by the people hanging around him. Nobody ever shot off his ear.
That's right. Democrats, it's a mental illness. It honestly is. Talk about dementia. They love Joe Biden so much, they've all become demented. It's contagious. Amazing stuff. I have the Secret Service director, such as she is, coming up, and the news media. Oh, and Senator Chris Murphy. Well, you hear him. Now, the Democrats have a senator in Connecticut. They have Danang Dick. Danang Dick, Richard Blumenthal, the Democrat from Connecticut who pretended over and over again that he served in Vietnam, fought in Vietnam. He told crowds that again and again, but he was lying because he's a liar. But they've got another senator there who is a scaly reptilian by the name of Chris Murphy. Chris Murphy is not a truthful person. He's a lying Sacagawea is what he is. And I want to share with you his incendiary appearance on Rachel Maddow last night. But before I get to that, there was a moment on CNN. It was on CNN. And they've got a woman named Kate Bedingfield. Kate Bedingfield is on. And last night, she said they're just talking like they usually talk about killing everybody and shooting people and opening fire, putting them in the crosshairs. And that came up with Lester and with Joe Biden last night on NBC too, we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. Kate Bedingfield on CNN last night.
At some point, Democrats have to decide that they want to try to win this election and turn their fire on Donald Trump. I think there is, I shouldn't have said turn their fire. I apologize. That was not the phrase that I meant. They need to turn their focus on Donald Trump.
He was shot 48 hours earlier, and the Democrat rhetoric has turned their fire on and put them in the and get them in our sights and put them in the crosshairs and to open fire and to turn their fire. Oh no, I should have said turn their fire. I shouldn't have said turn their fire. Didn't mean that. Now let's go to Rachel Maddow last night on MSDNC, which is a hotbed of vile, violent, mentally ill, hate-filled, what are they called? Oh, yeah, Democrats. Democrats, perfectly normal for Democrats. And here is Senator Chris Murphy with Rachel Maddow last night. Listen to her sitting in silence as he is weaving this delusion about President Trump's vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance, because they're so filled with hatred that they just can't stop themselves, nor do they have any interest in stopping themselves. They're the party that started the Civil War in 1861. They fired on Fort Sumter. They created the Confederate States of America. The Democrat Party is the party of the KKK and Jim Crow and of riots and of presidential assassinations. And I gave you the list yesterday of all the Republican presidents that have been shot and killed or shot and wounded or shot at and survived. And the list is long. The only Democrat to ever have been shot and killed as president, John F. Kennedy, shot and killed by a communist or the CIA, because they still haven't released those documents. But let's go to Senator Chris Murphy last night on MSDNC, because they had announced J.D. Vance as their running mate, and now it's time to vilify him. And I don't know how many gunmen have to show up and shoot Congressman Steve Scalise on a baseball field where there are a dozen Republican members of Congress from the House and the Senate, and he wanted to murder them all. The Bernie Sanders campaign volunteer, James Hodgkinson. You grab an assassin, an armed would-be assassin outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house. Now you've got an assassin, would-be assassin, shooting at President Trump and wounding him, just not well, yesterday when they were doing this, 48 hours earlier. Remarkable stuff. Now, here's Senator Chris Murphy last night with Rachel Maddow demonizing and vilifying Donald Trump's VP pick as, once again, you'll never guess, the end of democracy and white Christian nationalist threat to, and they have no respect for the rule of law. This is standard rhetoric from these, I'm trying not to curse, these people. I'll just say these people, like this stain named Senator Chris Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut.
I've also seen, J.D. Vance act in a way that is really dismissive of democracy. He is one of the Republican senators that routinely stops us from being able to approve appointees to the department. So there is a
transgender appointees
written down on paper to transition American democracy to autocracy.
Autocracy is going to transition American democracy to autocracy. See, now it would be rational for an assassin to kill someone that would do that to our great country. It would not. They would erect statues and monuments to you later on because you would save our democracy from autocracy, from totalitarianism. And this is the standard rhetoric. Didn't Joe Biden just lie hours ago that we need to dial down the rhetoric? And then this filthy rectal aperture, this stain on humanity, this stain on American politics, who should be expelled from the Senate, but the Lizard King runs the Senate, and he's a bloodthirsty ghoul who threatened the Supreme Court justices in front of the Supreme Court before the Democrat showed up looking to murder Brett Kavanaugh and two other Supreme Court justices. This is the standard rhetoric of the Democrat Party. My rhetoric could never be as harsh and honestly, as a U.S. senator attacking another U.S. senator and the pick for vice president in the opposing party after the lead on the opposing ticket was just shot in the head hours earlier. And here comes Senator Chris Murphy.
J.D. Vance is part of that infrastructure, right? He has been fairly public in his antipathy for democracy. There is just a dominant strain in the Republican Party and some of the sort of thin intellectual veneer that covers Trumpism that J.D. Vance is a big part of, that simply believes that democracy is antiquated, that it doesn't work any longer, that we would be better off if we just had one person in charge and the rest of us were stripped of our rights, and that we put men back in charge.
Put men back in charge as opposed to, I'm not sure. But this is your Democrat Party, and that's your filthy, rotten news media. Rachel Maddow, who they pay $31 million a year. $31 million. Yeah, it's almost twice as much as they paid George Stephanopoulos. The Democrat Party, I can assure you, pays a lot better than the Republican Party does. I'm sorry to have to report. Really amazing stuff. Your Democrat Party. Your Democrats. And, you know, you've got Democrats on Capitol Hill in the employ of the House of Representatives encouraging target practice so you can shoot straighter and kill more effectively, because the Democrat Party is all about that, aren't they? Yes, they are. The Democrats they've got is Congressman Benny Thompson, a staffer of Benny Thompson's, Jacqueline Marsaw, who tweeted out, "I don't condone violence," and then her head exploded. "But please get you some shooting lessons so you don't miss next time. Oops, that wasn't me talking." She's illiterate, racist, moron, and the moron, illiterate, racist congressman that employed her, Benny Thompson, then posted a tweet. "I was made aware of a post made by a staff member, and she is no longer in my employment." No longer in my employment, in your employ, but that's okay. Illiteracy is a Democrat Party family value. Remarkable stuff. Senator Chris Murphy wasn't done on Rachel Maddow.
That's where J.D. Vance comes from, and he talks a good game, but if you really listen to him, he is being picked in part because he is going to help shape this transition away from democratic norms, this transition to a white patriarchal Christian-dominated nation, something that's very different, right, than the nation that many of us have thought we have been a part of this many years.
I'm not sure what rectum you have your head wedged into, but this country's been run. It's the most successful, prosperous country, the freest country in the history of humankind, and it was the white patriarchal Christians that established everything that made the United States the most prosperous, successful, wealthiest, freest, most law-abiding country in the history of the world. But that's what you get from and now, I mean, honestly, he should be arrested by the Secret Service and beaten to the ground, handcuffed, probably have leg shackles put on, like they've done to Trump White House officials, Peter Navarro, for example, and they should drag Senator Chris Murphy away to the solitary confinement pen in Washington, D.C., where, like the January 6 people, he should not have legal representation for months. Because, the white patriarchal Christian, and they're anti-Christian. He's a white racist who's been taught to hate white people because the left, they exterminate 40% of the black population by abortion and give out awards for it. These people are psychopaths. Senator Chris Murphy is a psychopath, and the TV show he was on, Rachel Maddow, run by a psychopath. She was sitting there murmuring like a dimwit.
Yeah, of all the supposed shortlist contenders that Donald Trump was considering for vice president, Senator Vance certainly, I think, widely viewed as the most radical choice.
Says the most radical person. Well, maybe not on MSNBC, but she's a radical and extremist. I think she's transgender. I think she's a man. It's just these people are really sick in the head, and it doesn't matter how many people are shot. Their rhetoric will not cease. This conversation that they claim they don't want to have because they lie every time they speak is just extraordinary. Just extraordinary people that they are. Man, oh man. And that's Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat, Connecticut, and they're fine with that. Yep. Yes, sir. By the way, the people at CNN are reporting John King at CNN typing on behalf of his party, the Democrat Party. Private efforts to nudge Biden to step aside, party-issued language, step aside and pass the torch, right? Step aside, continue. John King in his little typed-up piece. The public calls from Democrats asking President Joe Biden to bow out of the presidential race have quieted in recent days, but private efforts to nudge the president out of the race continue because everything they tell you is a lie. That's pretty amazing stuff. Peter Navarro, who I mentioned, Trump White House, contempt of Congress, thrown in prison by the fascist Democrats who pretend to be liberals. But Hitler's party was called the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany, just for the record. And, of course, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, Joseph Stalin, and so on. Their utopias usually, always lead to mass graves. Let's take a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Mike, calling from Middletown, New Jersey. Mike, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm great, Mike. What do you say?
I'm going to say that history will long remember the media coverage of the Trump assassination vis-a-vis the Kennedy assassination very differently. Remember, Miriam Smith had the wherewithal to, his first bulletin was 3 shots fired at the motorcade. Meanwhile, AP wrote, Donald Trump has been escorted off the stage by Secret Service during a rally after loud noises ring out in the crowd.
Yep.
I mean, how? How do you not know it's a shot? I mean, he's bleeding.
Right. Well, they lie about everything. And now I played the audio of Democrats saying it was all false flag. It was faked. It was staged. It wasn't shot at all. It's fake blood. There is a lot of mental illness out there. We just call them Democrats.
Yes, we do, Chris. And you do an excellent job.
No, thank you, Michael. Peter Navarro, who I mentioned, was dragged away. He is due to, in theory, be released from prison this week after having been, I think, 3 months or 4 months for defying a congressional subpoena for the January 6th hearing. And he claimed executive privilege as an advisor to the president, which would normally work. But they arrested him at Reagan Airport and threw him in prison, and they handcuffed him and put him in leg shackles after he had a discussion with them about coming down to the office to sit down and talk with them. But they hacked his travel plans. They arrested him in as public a place as they possibly could. They threw him in prison because they're basically Nazis, these fascists that call themselves liberals. Just amazing people. And, of course, Hunter Biden is right now in defiance of a congressional subpoena, and he's living at the White House, smoking crack and, popping Russian hookers, whatever he's doing, the usual Hunter stuff. You know that the best-selling Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier uses proven Oxy technology, and Oxy technology helps to quickly destroy a lot of different viruses and odors and mold and a whole lot more in the air, in your home, in your office. Thousands of 5-star reviews online. It works like a champ. We've got 2 of them in my home. Any smell will vanish in just a few seconds with the thunderstorm being on. Orders from litter boxes and trash cans, cigarette smoke, dirty diapers, smelly leftist protesters. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The powerful thunderstorm sends out these O3 molecules that seek out and help destroy odors. These molecules even go behind and under furniture. Nothing can hide from the thunderstorm. And best of all, no filters to buy and replace over and over again. Saves you money and hassle and scheduling. Come on, you can hold one in your hand. They're only this big. Just great stuff. Right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection because you hang out with me. You get 3 units for under $200 American dollars, so you can put one in your basement, your teenager's room, your kitchen, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. Just go to EdenPureDeals.com on Al Gore's amazing internet. Use the discount code CHRIS3 and you're going to save $200. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris and the number 3. Yes, sir. Yeah, boy, I am far from done. I've got tons and tons more because we live in crazy times. The crazy people, well, we know who they are, don't we? All right, we're going to get Joe Biden and his Lester Holt interview and his confusion over the word bullseye. He says he's talking about crosshairs when Lester Holt keeps talking about bullseye because Joe Biden's brain is completely broke. Amazing stuff. And more media mental illness. They continue with the incendiary Civil War rhetoric of the left. They're here to destroy our democracy in order to save it. Let's take a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Joe calling from Frederick, Maryland. Joseph, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Love the show, by the way. Yeah, I've been here. Remember all last week, I had heard the likes of Pelosi, Manchin, Schumer. They all were referencing wait until after this weekend. Like there was something going on this weekend that they knew about before they'll give any information about Biden or whatnot. Sorry, I'm a little nervous on the phone here. But they had, I know she had brought that up, wait until after the weekend.
You're right. They were talking about Joe Biden, theoretically, at the time. But you're right, and we played the audio here of Nancy Pelosi saying, wait for this weekend. Yeah, you know, I got to tell you, Joe, I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist myself, but this situation is ripe for people that would raise questions, and there are legitimate questions that need to be answered. And in the meantime, a lot of conspiracy theories are flying around, unsurprisingly.